Hello there, people of the internet. It just finished raining. We got bugs out. They're screaming. We got thunder. We got some weather. Oh boy. So today we're out here taking a look at this right here. This is a Carcano Troop Special Carbine. You guys have seen this one on the channel before. I've made claims that this right here is probably my favorite full power bolt action rifle, just because it's so nice. I'm doing this as a little video series to try and earn my way up to 100,000 subscribers. And I'm trying to do this every single day, which is why I'm out here in a freshly rained environment and with things screaming at me in the background. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the history and development of this right here, this being the Troop Special Carbine, but we're going to kind of branch off into more of a vague history behind carbines and military service in general. So this style of rifle is not exactly new. Of course, during the turn of the century, whenever smokeless powder was first invented by the French, all countries were looking to have repeating bolt action rifles that also used this smokeless powder so they could have much smaller, much more efficient ammunition that could send projectiles at far faster velocities at far greater distances, and the Italians were no exception. So the Italians, along with the Russians, along with basically every country that existed during this time period, adopted a full-length, full-sized rifle for their infantry users. And then, not all of these countries that was aforementioned, but basically everyone who had a long rifle also had a shortened version of that long rifle. And the shortened version was more or less for people who were not necessarily going to be fighting on front lines. Like, for example, the Italians, whenever they made these Troop Special Carcanos, they made these with the intention that the people who were going to be using them were going to be people who didn't necessarily need a full-length rifle with the range or accuracy that a full-length rifle was going to provide. People like truck drivers or artillerymen or cooks, or like I said, just people who were not necessarily going to be confronting the enemy on the front line, but probably should still have a rifle for just in case purposes. Now, the Carcano Troop Special model doesn't mean that this was Special Forces guys or anyone like that. All it means is that it was troops that were different than like the standard infantry troops. If you were somebody who wasn't going to be fighting on the front line, but you still needed some means of defense, odds are you got something like this. Now, these right here are actually conversions from long rifles. Hi, puppy. These right here are actually conversions from long rifles, and the Italians with the long rifles actually used gain twist riflings. And what that equates to is, since this right here has a cut down barrel being a conversion, the twist rate inside of this barrel doesn't quite stabilize projectiles as well as it should. And so as a result, with this right here, it's long story short, it's not going to be a long range projectile, because out past 300 or so yards, you will start to see bullets begin to tumble. That being said, I don't foresee something like this being used out really past that distance anyway, but of course, I'm sure that they absolutely could be. The 6.5 Carcano, I can't remember the military loadings, but I do know I got a 140 grain loading that sends lead downrange at approximately 2,000 or so feet per second. So there's about what we can expect from this right here. It's not exactly a powerhouse of a cartridge, but at the same time, it's not exactly an underpowered cartridge either. 140 grain bullet at 2,000 feet per second is pretty fast. That's definitely a full power rifle round. One of the main reasons why I like this rifle so much is because not only is it a full power rifle cartridge, but it is incredibly lightweight and short, and I really like the aesthetics and how well balanced this is and how well put together it is. And I like how smooth this particular one has its action. I just really like this rifle in general. 6-round Mannlicher style feeding system, with lack of better terminology. I was going to call it a magazine, but I guess it's fed by clip into an internal magazine inside the Mannlicher system. You know what? We're not going to worry about the trivial caveats behind that. Now, of course, as time would progress, countries all around the world would end up seeing just how effective shorter length rifles like this right here would become, and basically every country would adopt a shorter version of their original long rifle to just give out to every individual soldier, be it truck driver, artilleryman, frontline soldier. They saw that cutting down the barrel and making them shorter, lighter, more compact, more handy was not going to impact the actual performance of the rifles, not to the significant amount that they once believed. Not only that, but these rifles right here were shown to be overpowered, especially in their very long-barreled forms, especially for the types of combat that most combat was actually taking part in. Most combat would be taking place within like 300 yards, whereas the original idea behind smokeless powder was that most combat would be taking place beyond, like, you know, up to 2,000 yards in the case of some sighting systems. In the case of this little carbine, it goes out to 1,500 meters, I'm assuming. However, we'll go ahead and we'll go into the carbine development for every soldier in a later video. Right now we're talking about the Troop Special model. I think I've pretty much covered everything. There's not a whole lot that I can go over with these right here. This particular one is a World War I model made in 1918. No idea when it was converted, but that is at least when the rifle itself was produced. Now normally these right here would hold 6 rounds of ammunition. However, that being said, I am a poor guy, so I have a partially loaded clip out here with 2 rounds of ammunition inside of this thing. So here's our 2 rounds inside of our in-block clip. We're going to shove these into the rifle itself. And now we can go ahead and just send some lead down range. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and plant these into the car down there. So I don't really have a particular target. We're just going to go ahead and hit some sheet metal and watch the car smoke down there. I really like this thing because it does not have a lot of blast, noise, or recoil. But at the same time, I get the feeling that something like this right here, it just, you know, I don't really have an end for that statement. I was gonna say something sarcastic and smart, but I feel like a bunch of people would yell at me. Now, with this being our last round, once we shove this round into the chamber, the clip should fall out of the bottom of the magazine. I'm gonna go ahead and hold it because it's covered in oil. Well, it's supposed to fall out of the bottom of the magazine. There we go. Go ahead and pull that out the bottom of the magazine, and it's probably why it's stuck, because it's covered in oil. Okay, we're gonna send another round here at our car, because why not? You know, the 6.5 Carcano, with it being especially if you use like proper Spitzer rounds, with it being a 6.5 millimeter projectile, I imagine that out of a proper sighted rifle with proper bore and proper ammunition, this is 2.64 diameter bullets in a 2.68 diameter bore, I imagine that these could be pretty accurate out to some pretty substantial distances. But that's just assumption on my part. I haven't actually seen these rifles ran out to any real legitimate distance. As a matter of fact, I might look that up. Watch that as a video later. I don't think I have anything else to say on this one. So, yeah, I think I've pretty much covered all of what it is I wanted to cover with this thing. Troop Special, give it to soldiers who don't necessarily need a full-length rifle. This was before they were issuing like intermediate-length rifles to all of the everybody. So this is what the people on the secondary lines had. So if you like this kind of stuff, then subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I am trying to do this kind of stuff every day. That being said, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I reckon I'll see you guys again on the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett.
It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.